In this video, I'm going to answer two basic questions. One, what is the characteristics of a great guitar learning system? And two, is any system better than no system at all? Here we have something called a mind map that I've created to summarize the components of a quality teaching system. You'll be able to download a copy of this in the download section. The two main parts of any quality learning system are the teaching principles that it's based on, and the elements that comprise the skills being taught. Let's start with the principles behind the system. This is the foundation that everything else is built on. Any good learning system is organized in such a way that learning the techniques and skills necessary to succeed are broken down to small, accessible steps. Think of the system like a ladder, where you just put one foot after the other. Each step is very doable, and is designed to give the student a sense of confidence in their ability to achieve the goal. Completing each step encourages the student to continue. Each lesson is built on lessons that came before it. There's an apparent sequence to the material, and the student should experience a sense of progress as he or she completes the steps. In addition, having a plan allows for preparing in advance for more difficult material. When the student's prepared with exercises or simpler components ahead of time, the more difficult material doesn't seem like a big leap. This helps reduce tension and frustration. Built into a well-thought-out system are many opportunities to feel successful. Accomplishing each step gives a sense of completion and accomplishment in and of itself. But by making each step complete and having a variety of elements, the student will have many opportunities to experience success. For example, if the student is having trouble with strumming, he may find it easier to play a note-reading piece, thereby feeling more successful. Having a built-in system of review addresses two fundamental concepts in learning a complex skill, such as music. One is that to become useful, most of the skills involved in playing an instrument must become automatic, or go from a conscious process to subconscious. Correct repetition is the key. That means doing the technique many times correctly. By reviewing often, more repetitions are performed with less boredom than doing the same number of repetitions before moving on to the new technique. Second, by reviewing at specific and previously chosen intervals, you have several opportunities to get each technique up to speed. This is less frustrating than working on a certain technique until it's perfect. In addition, when you go back to that technique after moving on for a while, you'll be in a different place, having practiced the subsequent techniques. The old technique will naturally seem easier when reviewed and gives the student an experience of accomplishment. A good system includes a balance of theory, note reading, exercises, playing chords, and so on. Many other skills necessary to play the guitar that are in proportion to common usage. I prefer about 20% of the chorus to involve note reading. Most guitarists really don't spend a lot of time reading notes, at least not when playing popular music. But by learning the foundation of reading, a student will be able to pick out melodies in sheet music, communicate better with other musicians, and they'll have a foundation to build on should they decide to play a style of music like classical guitar or some jazz in the future, which is note reading intensive. About 20% is a reasonable amount to derive the benefits without taking too much time away from other areas like changing chords, independent finger movement, timing, strumming, etc. These principles, along with proper exercises and regular practice, will progressively build a mind-body connection, which will enable the student to hear the music in their head and have the fingers play the right notes and chords in time and with feeling. It takes time, but it's very achievable, and it's worth it. Now for the elements. In the case of guitar, these are the basic skills or building blocks that enable one to play guitar fluidly. The elements consist of strums, chords, chord progressions or templates, which are set patterns of chords that are commonly used in popular music, exercises, and those can be divided up into finger placement type exercises, changing the chords, speed developing exercises, and exercises to promote proper timing. Note reading and tab reading, both of these are written ways of communicating with other musicians. music theory, which consists of ear training, terminology, understanding the common terminology used in music, and understanding the organizing principles that make up modern music. And then, of course, applying all this to learning songs and possibly creating your own songs or improvising. Teaching techniques is specific ways of teaching the student the material and the elements and applying the principles involved. Some examples of teaching techniques include by-copy playing, which is a type of playing where the student imitates the teachers, usually using single-line melody. Timing rev-up, which is a progressive way of improving your timing and speed. And learning cycles. Two examples of learning cycles are chord template cycles and melody note reading cycles. The chords template cycle is a 5-step cycle. This diagram shows an example of a typical chord template cycle. First, you learn a few basic chords, usually a couple chords, get a little practice changing between the two, and then add the third chord. Step number 2 is to use those 3 chords in a common pattern and practice moving from one to the other. Number 3 is we add a strum, and then you go back and practice getting the chord progression in time. Step number 4 is to increase the proficiency, which includes getting the strum smooth, getting everything up to the correct speed, and doing it in a way that there's no slowing down or speeding up. And then finally, step 5 is to apply this chord pattern to songs. And there are many, many, possibly hundreds of songs that use just 3 chords. Another cycle is the melody reading cycle. Step number 1 is you learn some basic notes on the guitar, and then use step number 2, by-copy playing, to practice using those notes. It also includes an ear training aspect to it. Step number 3 is to learn those same notes on the staff, the written page, and practice using those notes, connecting it to what you did in the by-copy playing. Step 4 is to increase proficiency, to be able to play the notes smoothly in time and to build up speed. And then step 5 is to apply those same notes to a melody. There are many benefits to learning guitar in a systematic way built on good learning principles. A system will help you to build self-esteem because you're more likely to be successful, and also less frustration. It's a quicker road to self-expression. You're more likely to be able to create your own music by using patterns that are commonly used in popular music. You'll have more ability to play with others because you'll understand the terminology, understand basic principles involved, and you'll be able to jam using common patterns that you've learned throughout your courses. And finally, it's more fun. There's more of a feeling of accomplishment and more likely to experience what we call flow, which is a creative state where you lose track of time. Now for question number 2. I believe any system is better than no system. But an exceptional course is structured in a way that gives the student a systematic approach to learning skills that might initially seem out of reach to a beginner. Through achieving goals and actively participating in music making, a student can experience a real sense of fulfillment, as well as building self-esteem and enhancing self-worth.